Joining us now, former prosecutor and criminal defense attorney Joshua Ritter. He's also the host of the True Crime Daily Sidebar Podcast. Welcome to you. Good to see you as always. How will this trial be different than the first time around?
Well, it's going to be very same as far as the strategy that each side takes. They're making the same arguments. The Commonwealth is still pursuing the idea that she hit him either intentionally or she was so intoxicated causing his death. And the defense is saying, in fact, not only did she not hit him, but other people are responsible for his death. And it's a massive cover up and a frame job of Karen Read. But it's going to be very different as far as who's in court, because the prosecution has added a new prosecutor with Hank Brennan, who has proven himself to be very formidable. He's going after nearly every strategy that the defense has put forward. And even the defense has added a new member to their team who happens to have been a former sitting juror on the first Karen Read trial. Not a deliberating juror. She ended up being an alternate juror, but she is now announced an appearance as an attorney for Karen Read the second time around. So different folks in court, but kind of the same strategy going into this new trial.
I found that second point, having the former juror as part of the defense team, really interesting, Joshua, because she can inform the conversations that the jury first time around was having. How unconventional is that to have someone like that participating at this point?
So unconventional that I don't think anyone's ever found an instance of something like that happening before. And many people were trying to debate whether or not it's legal, and there's no case law on it because I don't think the subject has ever been broached before. So I think Karen Read has a legal right to representation of her choosing. There may not be a legal reason for not allowing it, but it could present problems if jurors were to learn that lawyer sitting in court was a previous lawyer. You can imagine the connecting of dots and conclusions they might draw from that. So we'll see. So far, the judge is allowing it, but it is really unheard of.
This was already a high-profile case, and then you had the mistrial, and Read has engaged in a lot of high-profile presentations since then. You've got that docuseries I mentioned a moment ago. What will they be looking for in seating this next jury, given the case has gotten even more attention?
It's going to be very difficult. Already we're hearing reports that the vast majority of people have heard of the case. And of those people, a lot of folks have already made up their minds. So whittling this down to people who have never even heard of the case is going to be difficult. And I think what they're going to be stuck with is people who may have heard about it just kind of overwhelming that community there. But people who have hopefully not made up their minds and carry a bias into this trial. The jury selection is expected to go a few weeks. The first time around, they polled a few hundred jurors in anticipation. This time around, I understand it's into the thousands of potential jurors that they have ready to be questioned. So it could take a long time because, like you said, there's been an incredible amount of coverage on this case, something that you just do not see in between two trials.
Because she has spoken out since that first trial, do you anticipate the conversation is happening on this one? Does she take the stand?
Well, at this point, we've nearly heard everything she has to say about it. I do not anticipate her taking the stand. As vocal as she has been, I just do not see that being a strategic advantage for the defense. And the defense feels, I think, somewhat emboldened by the results of the first trial. That it was a hung trial. There was some discussion from jurors that they were actually acquitting her of the more serious charge of second-degree murder. So I think they're thinking to themselves, let's stay the course and stick to that same strategy, which did not include her testifying. But because of all these statements that she's made to the media, the Commonwealth, the prosecutors, are going to try to get a lot of those statements into court. And they've subpoenaed and asked for the raw notes and footage from many of those interviews. So we'll see how much of that actually makes it into this trial.
Yeah, well, lots of interesting angles to talk about. Joshua Ritter, thanks as always.
Thank you for having me.